So we must do two things, two great things together, to encompass that enormous new view that lies before us, but to encompass it within the framework of science, to see it within the whole categorical framework of science, and to see that these two are not separate, but that they are wedded. The bigness of the idea, the newness of the idea, the greatness of it is one with the structure of science, the structure of being itself.
So now we have the great joy and privilege and pleasure of coming to the synonymous term love, and so we come to love. That seventh synonymous term, we know that in the 7 days of creation it is not a day of creation, but a day of rest, of peace, of glorification. God finished his work which he had made and rested on the 7th day. So there is a resting in the work. Whenever you hear work, you hear the 6th day and 6 days. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, the commandments say. But on the 7th thou shalt not work. And don't we associate the sense of working with consciousness, huh? To work, we say, I'll do some work about that, means we will become conscious of the truth about a situation. So truth has all to do with that right sense of working, of laboring and working in the fullness and the wholeness of the 6th day, which is the wholeness of all 7. So that when we work, whenever we work in consciousness, we work with the whole. We labor in the whole truth of those 7. You have to learn to read and to understand the shorthand of being shorthand, the shorthand of science. And we know this because we know that in the 6th day we have 7 subtones. So it's always the whole that truth is telling us something about. So it says, work with the whole. Be conscious of the whole. This is your labor. This is your right labor. And only as you work rightly and wholly can you then rest. You work with the whole, with all 7, or we could enlarge that sense of the whole, that you work with the 7, you work with the 4, you work with the 4 levels, with the whole system, in other words. And that having worked, you come to a point where you feel you have finished. It's finished. This happens in any Christian Science treatment. A right Christian Science treatment will eventually lead you to the place within consciousness where you feel it is done, it is finished. And then something else is necessary. And that something else is love. It is to rest in that truth, to rest in the work that has been done. And this is perhaps the hardest thing for the human to grasp. The human mind, in a way, wants to go on and on and on and keep on. But the divine mind within us, divine mind reading within us, knows when we have touched the whole, have covered the whole truth about that situation, the whole of the specific truth has been covered. And then one has to go on to the seventh day standpoint, to the standpoint of love, where we rest in that truth, no matter whether we see the result of it yet or not. We know in consciousness, we know in divine consciousness that the work is done. This is really what the days of creation, those final 2 days of creation, teach us that method, show us that method. That God finished his work which he had made and rested on the seventh day, rested from all of his work which he had made. And so this is what love will show us now. It's going to show us that seventh day of love, and that this is the highest standpoint. It's higher than working. Resting is higher than working. And we have to learn, we need to learn more. We are learning more to rest, and I think as the 7,000-year period comes upon us, and we begin to see the perfection of the wholeness of truth, that we naturally realize that we can rest in it, that we feel at rest, that we see the completeness, we see the wholeness of being. We see the wholeness of truth. And looking back on the accomplishments, the fullness of that 6,000-year period as we have experienced it together, I think we see how full, how complete, how whole it has been. So whole. It's been an experience of the wholeness of truth. And now the 7,000-year period consciousness is something quite different. The seventh says, don't keep on trying to work. Don't keep on trying to hold back to the sixth. Take the standpoint of the seventh. Begin to love that which has been given to you by the sixth. Love that standpoint of truth. Take it in. Accept it. Be a mother to it. All of these love qualities now must be given to that one great truth experience. And so, how does love see? What does love see? What does love know? What in the world is love? What is love itself? And you see that love is that which would not be love without truth. And truth is the whole, therefore truth is mind, spirit, soul, principle, life, truth, and love. So love is that which has an object. Love is that whose object is truth. It's all those 6 days are the object of love, the creation of love. Really what love has called into being. Everything has been for the purpose of love. Everything that we see really as that first day of creation or that first 1,000-year period, that really came into being because of love. Love is mind. Love is spirit. Love is soul. Love is principle. Love is life and truth, and it is love. And so those first 6 days are love's object. Those first 6 synonymous terms. And their ideas now are the object which love is looking at and viewing. And what is love as itself, you see? Not really in relationship yet to anything else, not in relationship to love's idea, but just love per se. If we can answer that question, what would that answer be? And I feel that the word would say, love is perfection. Love is perfection. That love is that to which nothing else can be added. Love is perfection. And the Christ would say, love is self-sufficiency. It is that which holds or contains or is everything within itself, needing nothing from outside. It's impossible that there would be anything outside. Love is total perfection. It is therefore self-sufficiency, self-sufficient. And as Christianity, what is it? What is the outcome of that perfection, which is within itself totally self-sufficient? The realm of that, the outcome of that, is the superabundance of love. The superabundance of love. You don't find this term on your other charts, your other materials, your dimensional structuring, the superabundance of love. And, when I came to love and the structuring of love, I saw there were only 3 ideas there at the point of science itself, at that point of asking, what is love as itself? And so I weighed those terms and weighed them, and I just asked, because I felt that we could see what love is from a word standpoint and from a Christ standpoint, and from the standpoint of science, it is integrated being. Love is integrated being. Would you feel that as a science standpoint? And I thought, but what about Christianity? And it's so beautiful, because more and more it happens that you only have to ask the question. And when consciousness is rich and full and whole and filled with the system, the consciousness of the system, that's where your answer comes from. And suddenly this term that I had not really worked with for probably some years came to mind. And it's a term that has been used by Max Kapler, and it's a term that Max Kapler used because he said that John Doyley always said of love, that love was the superabundance. That love is superabundance. And, it's not that something came to mind and so you grab that, you need something to go in the space, you need to have that 4th term. That it was so beautiful, it was so perfect. I thought, well, of course, because through the years we've had that term superabundance explained to us as the fact that love's abundance, love's richness, love's outpouring, love's totality, its allness, its completeness, its overflowing perfection is an abundance that is, can I say, more than or different than the abundance of life. It's an abundance that we will feel, because then as I went on and began to structure the other levels and the other aspects of the calculus, I found that tone as a background for so much that is there, of this rich, almost superfluous is not the right word, it's super abundance. And we will feel that as we go through. And perhaps you can feel that that would very much have a touch of Christianity in science, that love would say, I am the super abundance. That's my realm, is a realm that contains the full expression of myself in my perfection and self-sufficiency. So, are you happy to try that out with me? Huh? All right?
I think so.
Good, good. So, we have those four great terms or ideas then: the perfection of love, the self-sufficiency of love. You see, love drawing from within itself, drawing upon itself, being, actually being within itself, complete and total self-sufficiency, the superabundance of that in expression, that self-sufficiency in expression, bringing forth the fact that love is superabundance, and science would lift the whole question to the highest standpoint and say, well, love is integrated being.